The message arrived just after sunrise. Short, plain, almost careless in the way it promised stability. Private driver required. Fixed hours. Good pay. Immediate start. Rohan Varma read it twice while sitting on the edge of his bed. The city was already loud outside his small apartment. Car horns, footsteps, distant voices. Life moving forward while he felt stuck in the same place. He had been unemployed for weeks. Temporary jobs. Short contracts. Empty promises. Unpaid bills lay scattered on the table beside him like silent reminders of everything he had failed to fix. Driving was the only thing that still made sense. Roads were honest. They didn't pretend. They always led somewhere, even if he didn't know where yet. So before doubt could stop him, he replied with one word. Yes. By noon, Rohan stood outside a tall house in a quiet neighborhood. The kind of place where even the air felt different. Clean. Soft. Peaceful. The gate opened slowly. A woman stepped out. She looked calm. Well-dressed. Professional. But her eyes told another story. Tired. Heavy. As if sleep never reached the places it was needed. "My name is Annika," she said softly. Her voice was gentle, controlled. The kind of voice used by people who had learned to keep emotions locked inside. She explained the job clearly. Private driver. Fixed hours. Occasional late nights. Good salary. No unnecessary questions. Rohan nodded. He didn't ask much either. He needed work, not stories. The first drive was silent. Annika sat in the back seat, posture straight, hands folded in her lap. Rohan focused on the road, on traffic, on movement. The silence wasn't uncomfortable. It felt intentional. When they reached her office, she said quietly, "Thank you, Rohan." Hearing his name felt strange. Almost personal. Then she stepped out. Days passed. Morning drives. Evening returns. Short stops. Long waits. Rohan learned her schedule without her ever explaining it. He knew which meetings lasted longer. Which days she preferred silence. Which routes she liked best. Annika spoke little. But when she did, her words were thoughtful. She never treated him like a servant. Yet she never acted like a friend either. There was a line. And both respected it. Still, small moments started to matter. She noticed traffic changes before he did. She remembered his name without checking her phone. Once she asked, "Is the air conditioning too cold for you?" It was a simple question. But it stayed with him. People rarely asked how he felt. He was usually invisible. One evening, rain fell suddenly. Heavy. Loud. Endless. Traffic slowed. Lights blurred. The city softened. Annika leaned forward slightly. "Can we stop here?" she asked, pointing at a small tea shop glowing under yellow lights. "I don't want to go home yet." Rohan parked. Inside, the smell of tea and fried snacks filled the air. Rain tapped gently on the roof. They sat at a small table. Annika stared into her cup before speaking. She talked about work. About meetings that felt empty. About days full of people but lonely inside. Rohan listened. He said very little. When they left, the rain had stopped. But something between them had shifted. Not loudly. Just enough to be felt. After that night, the drives felt different. Not closer. Just more aware. Annika started asking small questions. Why did he choose driving? What did he like about roads? "I like control," Rohan said once. "Even when life is uncertain, at least the road in front of you is clear." She smiled. A real smile. Late-night drives became common. The city looked peaceful after dark. Annika spoke about her house. How big it feels when only one person walks through it. She spoke about her husband. Always traveling. Always tired. Their calls short and polite. She didn't complain. But loneliness filled the silence between her words. Rohan felt something grow inside him. Something dangerous. He reminded himself. She was married. He was hired. Feelings had no place here. But feelings don't ask permission. They grow quietly. One night, while waiting outside a building, Rohan looked up. Annika stood by the window above, staring down at the street. She didn't see him. But he saw her clearly. Alone. Not weak. Just tired of being strong. When she came down, she said, "Thank you for waiting." Even though it was his job. The words felt heavier than before. The car became something else. A space where truth slipped out, where silence spoke, where two lonely people felt understood without trying. Rohan stayed careful, still respectful, still professional, but something inside him was changing, and he was no longer sure he wanted it to stop. One night, the car broke down on a quiet road. A single streetlight flickered above them. Annika laughed softly at the inconvenience. Rohan fixed what he could. Her fingers brushed his when she handed him her bag. The touch lasted 1 second longer than necessary. Neither spoke, but both felt it. After that night, everything changed. Annika relied on him more. She asked him to wait when she felt anxious. She shared small secrets. She trusted him. And Rohan realized he cared more than he should. He never crossed the line, but his heart leaned toward her with every passing day. Then one night, while driving through empty streets, Annika said softly, "I don't know when you stopped being just my driver." Rohan didn't reply. He couldn't. The truth was too heavy. They continued driving in silence. But the air between them was no longer neutral. A week later, her husband returned early from a business trip. The house felt different. Even the air was tense. Annika looked nervous. The drive was silent. By evening, she asked him to wait. They sat in the parked car. The city lights reflected on wet roads. "I can't pretend anymore," she whispered. "Not with you." Rohan's chest tightened. He wanted to speak, but he didn't. Some truths were too dangerous to touch. They talked quietly. About loneliness. About feelings. About limits. They didn't cross them, but they acknowledged them. The next morning, Rohan resigned. No drama. No goodbye. He simply left. Annika watched from the window, silent. Weeks passed. Rohan took another job, another life, but nothing felt the same. Every quiet road reminded him of her. Annika continued her routine, but something was missing. She often found herself looking at the street at night, imagining the sound of his car. Their connection ended, but it stayed inside them, not as regret, not as guilt, but as proof that sometimes two people meet not to stay, but to change each other forever.